Welcome to The Baffled Brain, Demystifying Dementia, your daily podcast that will teach you everything you need to know about dementia. At Think Different Dementia, we know that dementia seems complex and challenging to manage, but we also know with the right tools at the right time, dementia is made simple. I am your host, Lizette Kluter from Think Different Dementia, where we believe you're only one technique, the right technique, away from thriving and not just surviving your dementia journey. So please like this video, please subscribe to the podcast, and please share these videos with your friends and families so that we together can thrive and not just survive your dementia journey. So welcome to today's program. Well, welcome back. This is October the 26th, and it is episode 50 of The Baffled Brain Demystifying Dementia, where we continue to unpack the analogy of using an airplane to explain the dementia and dementia process to people, to make it simple to understand, to keep it easy for people to understand. Thank you for joining me again today. I appreciate your time, and I'm super excited to be here again on this beautiful, beautiful day. So let's dive right into today's episode. So we're gonna look at what the wings are, right? Planes come in lots of different shapes and sizes, and what do wings do when we're on a flight? So wings actually create lift, right? Wings are what create lift and hold the airplane up in the air. So as we're on our dementia journey, what can we put under the wings, right? What can we include in this part of the analogy to make it easy and simple for people to understand? So what I have done in my framework is I have included within the wings what gives us lift and what gives us helps if I don't drop my brain, right? What gives us lift are the nuts and bolts strategies that we would use as occupational therapists, physical therapists, speech language pathologists to help people with dementia. So we treat people with dementia all the time. If you think about it, 1 out of every 3 seniors die with some form of dementia. And in South Carolina, we are 7th in the nation for the highest incidence of dementia. And there are lots of reasons for that. And we will continue to explore some of the reasons as we look at causes and so on. But from a pragmatic perspective, what can we talk about when we talk about creating lift or helping us in our journey, in our flight, to keep the plane in the air? So from an occupational therapy perspective, I continue to work. I work as a home health therapist, and I thoroughly love my job. But what we do when we're working with people with dementia is I use lots of different frameworks that I've been taught over the years. One is called the Allen Disabilities Model, which is a cognitive disabilities model that helps to look at people's abilities in their dementia journey, and help we stage people using this tool, we assess them using this tool, and then we use the different things that we have learned in order to write goals and in order for us to keep working with the person with dementia. What you want to remember in the rehabilitation process is that there are two types of things that we look at. Number one is rehabilitation. What does the word rehabilitation mean? Well, rehabilitation just means the person themselves is still able to improve. So when we consider somebody with dementia, when a person is first diagnosed with dementia, they will not necessarily be so significantly impaired that they don't have the ability to learn. So at the beginning phases of dementia, or mild cognitive impairment phases, which are, just the beginning stages when a person takes a cognitive assessment, that a test will show that somebody's having difficulty with their thinking. So in those first two phases, mild cognitive impairment as well as mild dementia, a person can still fall in a rehabilitative phase. For example, mom falls, breaks her hip. She has an underlying history of mild cognitive impairment. We can still rehabilitate. We work on actively trying to retrain the brain, work on trying to teach the person new strategies, etc. Well, when a person with dementia gets to that point where they're not able to learn new information anymore, they fall into what we call a habilitative stage. Well, habilitation is just the big fat fancy word for maintaining function, not allowing a person to decline in function. So we understand as physical therapists, occupational therapists, speech therapists, that a person with dementia is ultimately going to decline over time. And when they get to that point when they cannot learn new information anymore, then they fall into the habilitative phase. So using the different models that I use, one, like I said, is the Allen Cognitive Disabilities model, and that allows me to see when a person goes from a rehabilitative phase to a habilitative phase, or we need to maintain function and try to decrease the rate of decline with the person, but we're not actually trying to teach them new information and new strategies anymore. So the Allen is one that I use frequently. One of the newer ones that I have started to use is called Skills to Care. Skills to Care is a wonderful evidence-based occupational therapy treatment plan that we use with the care partners. And it looks at the care partner as being primary in this relationship between the person with dementia and the care partner. And the person with dementia almost becomes secondary. It's not that we're not treating them, because we are treating them, but what we're focusing on, the emphasis is to try to decrease. We talked last time I did this broadcast yesterday, we talked about challenging behaviors, right? And challenging behaviors being a person with dementia's inability to communicate an unmet need, whether it be physical or emotional. Well, Skills to Care takes into consideration three different spheres. It looks at the person with dementia, it looks at the care partner, and it looks at the environment. And when all three of those are happy, then the person with dementia doesn't necessarily exhibit these challenging behaviors. Then another frame of reference that I use that I've just recently become familiar with is called Dementia with Dignity. It's actually the Dawn method. It was developed by Judy Cornish, and I'm going to try to get her on my program to talk about her particular way of doing dementia and dementia care, because it's very different. She comes from a different background and a different viewpoint, but it is very well encompassing. And we're all actually saying the same things. We're just saying them in a little bit different ways. And so with the wings of an airplane, what we're going to be exploring when we get to each of these different sections is how do we put them together? What are the nuts and bolts? How do we keep this dementia plane in the air? How do we keep this flight as smooth as possible, using all these different strategies from physical therapy, from speech therapy, from occupational therapy, what kind of tests we can do, all sorts of lots of nuts and bolts type of information to try to keep a person with dementia at the beginning in the rehabilitative phase, and then in the later on processes in the habilitative phase, so that we can maintain function for as long as possible to keep our loved one with dementia from losing their abilities. Because like I said, way at the beginning of my podcasts, my emphasis is on ability, not disability. Yes, we look at the disability. Yes, it is a part of the process, but there is so much a person with dementia can do, and we can thrive with dementia. We don't just have to survive. I'm sick and tired of people telling me they wish that they've met me years ago so that we could teach them these strategies. So this is my gift to you, to continue to educate and train as best as possible using this podcast format, how to maintain function and work on ability and not disability. So if you like these programs, please subscribe, click like, click share, share with your friends, share with your families. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is Think Different Dementia. You can join my Facebook group, which is Think Different Dementia Education Group, and you certainly can subscribe to this podcast. So this was October the 26th. This is episode 50, and thank you for joining me today. The Lord bless you and keep you, and I will be back again tomorrow.